I grew up in a military family. My father was in the military. He was in the Navy for 20 years. So we grew up all over the place. I was born in Guam, lived in Hawaii, Maine, Spain, and Virginia. When I lived in Northern Virginia, I was a Washington Redskins cheerleader for 8 years. And we don't just cheer on the sidelines, we also are big advocates for the military. And we have a traveling troupe that does dances and performances abroad. We went on over 20 shows to over 35 countries. And on one of those trips, I went to Guam, which is where Aaron was deployed. We met for just a brief hour or so. I was on 10 hours in Guam. We exchanged emails when he came to one of the shows. Emails led to phone calls. And the next thing you know, a couple years later, we're getting married. I got my bachelor's degree from James Madison University. Took a little break to get my master's degree at Bellevue University, a master's of science in organizational management, and just finished up with my Ph.D. in human capital management. I am really excited to be called Dr. Vaughn. However, I think that carrying that title comes with a lot of responsibility and humility. One thing I learned from my husband, who was a Navy SEAL, when asked what he did for a living, he always answered with, "I'm in the Navy." And I was always in awe of that answer because he just was a Navy SEAL for the Navy. It's just a really great honor. And so I think I'll still always introduce myself as Kimberly Vaughn. And I think that when people find out that I have a Ph.D., it'll speak for itself. Being the wife of a Navy SEAL is a wonderful honor. I was very privileged and proud to be Aaron's wife. And at the same time, I'm very honored to be his widow. The morning of August 6, 2011, there were news reports on the radio that a helicopter had been shot down.
A U.S. military helicopter crashed today in eastern Afghanistan, most likely taken down by Taliban fire. It's being called the deadliest incident for U.S. troops in the 10 years since the war began. At least 30 Americans are dead, including about 24 Navy SEALs. At least 7 Afghan soldiers were also killed.
I thought for sure that it wasn't Aaron, because I thought that I would have heard by then. I had just gotten up with my 9-week-old daughter, and I was staying at my parents' house because he was deployed and I needed help with the 2 kids, and the doorbell rang, and I kind of thought it was just a nosy neighbor, and I remember my father opening the door, and the first thing I saw was shiny black shoes and 4 men entering the house. And I remember seeing Aaron's friends, and I tried to compose myself, and they kind of waited till I stopped saying no, 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 and they just said that a helicopter had been shot down and there were no survivors and Aaron was on board. And that's kind of all I remember for a while. My mother took my daughter out of my arms, and it took a while for me to compose myself, and I think that's pretty much all I remember of that morning. I know that Aaron would want me to live life to the fullest and be happy and be a good example and a good mother to our children. So when I think about opportunities like pursuing my Ph.D., I'm not going to let opportunities like that pass me by, and I'm going to live life to the fullest. I'm going to earn his sacrifice every day. I'm going to be the best woman, best citizen I can be for this country.